I was looking for a meditative but very percussive music that has both in it, like the concentration, focus that we find in meditation, but also the strong sensual part of groove, of community, of togetherness. I was looking for a music like that, and I was studying a lot of music, playing a lot of music, but it never fitted in the right way, so I was always missing something, or something was too eclectic. We had a lot of interesting people around who were all also looking for new ways, but that didn't help me to solve the problem. I had to solve it myself, especially in the way of composing. How do you create a music that is playable with others, but the code and the aesthetics is shared? This freedom of improvisation in jazz inspired me a lot. But then I also studied classical music with that focus and precision. So I was looking in the music for a third way. That led to this modular way of organizing music.
I met Nik before and after a concert he gave in the Klaufert in Zurich in 2006. It was launching his first album on the ECM label called Stoa. The grooves which the band got into were very compelling. Something different was going on here, something which was new and original. Music itself breaks down very easy into three separate constituencies: rhythm, melody, and harmony. The main constituent in Nik's music was rhythm. Melody was fairly minimal, and harmony was fairly static. And those are the basic ingredients for disaster. But what we had here was a highly successful, well thought out program of music.
This is the kind of idea that Nik uses a lot in his music, which is to take numbers, shapes, which on their own would be a bit boring to listen to. But if you combine these shapes in interesting ways, suddenly you've got a lot more structure inside that to work with.
It's not my invention, but maybe the way I organize this and how I combine also a lot of odd meters, because there's a big potential, because we don't find it so much in music history. I have an ambition as a composer very clearly also. I prepare the compositions very far. I do a clear score where even drum beats and bass lines are written out. So this compositional mind is very important for me. I love that, to create and to study the music almost like a scientist, to find out what these patterns can do, how they live. So more about the life of them than the life of myself.
I really enjoy how in Nik's music, if you do something in 3-4 times, after the fourth time, if you had something going in 3 times, they will line up. That can be used to determine form and cue the band to change. The ability to hear when that lining up is going to happen really influenced my writing a lot.
Nik's music is especially interesting because he's not using just a couple of these polyrhythms. He likes layering one upon another. So you get pieces which have a 2 rhythm, then a 3 rhythm, then a 5 rhythm, and then he'll add a 7. And so this is why it's intimately related with mathematics. I would call mathematics the science of patterns and music the art of patterns.
Different spins and elliptic kind of movements that we have in the patterns. I'm looking for such things that actually are laying in the material. I don't need to invent them. I just need to find them and to organize them, that they show the beauty and also the paradox moments, like, for example, a wheel going backwards or stuff like that.
This is where it gets really clever in a way that this is not just sounding like repeating patterns, but where things interlock in a way that you realize it's repetition, but it's not that clear how exactly and where is it done. You feel like you almost get it by hearing it, and then you will find out, oh no, it's actually built in a different way. That's the genius approach happening.
My old group, Bang in a Can, commissioned the piece from him, and what we got was basically just like a bunch of patterns. It was sort of up to us to figure out what to do with them. It's like a structural design, and it's really specific in certain ways. It's a way of saying, I'm just as interested in hearing what's going to happen with this as you are. When you write in a kind of open-ended way, you're kind of leaving the collaboration and your collaborators as kind of partners and kind of making it into something more.
I just love to make music with other people.
It's always laborious, but you start upon a process and it's physical and it's a lot of repeated actions, and there's meditation in that repetition of doing something over and over again. You're committed to it because you know that you have to get to the end, and only when you get to the end you really find out what you've made.
When I compose modules, there are always some modules that don't make it to the record. Also, they were too complex and we had other pieces in better connection, communication with the band. So then they get a number.
All the deepest groove music in the world, whether you're talking about James Brown or King Sunny Ade or Balinese gamelan or Indian tabla player, there's this undeniable meter, but then there's something crossing over that meter that is also undeniable. Locked into whatever you think the meter is, but there's something else that's equally strong that's kind of pulling your mind in another direction.
I feel when it is not too conventional, but also not too complex. Usually I also show it then to my wife, Andrea, at a certain point, and when she surprised and likes it, then it's on a good way. When she tells me it sounds a bit nerdy, then I work it over. Module 58 is a combination, first of all, of 7 against 5. But then also formally what happens is interesting. So what we have is a 7. So when I go, so it's 4 little 7 in a big 7. And then the upper voice is in 5 in a similar pattern, but slower. And then when you combine it, you have this is very simple, but it creates an interesting form where the patterns suddenly start to be combined.
Phrases with 2 different time signatures. They use the same 3 notes, but the time where it sounds like they start together will be somewhere in the very middle of the whole repeating block. Where I found it very genius is overlapping them in a way that you will not that easily find out how they are built by just listening to it.
The clarinet is playing with the bass together. Sometimes Nik plays the left hand the same thing. The right hand he plays with me, with one part of me. The open part, I thought, how can I do it as round as possible? And I just by accident played like a Cold Sweat-ish beat, you know, and everybody said, hey, that's round, yeah, let's do that, you know. I connect a lot to this ding, 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 ding. That's why I came to this James Brown feel, but this is not composed by Nik. It's just happened, it happened, how can we push the song even more, you know? This was a connection, this is a beat I love, and it's timeless, so it works always. And you can turn it around, it sounds different. But the bass is still the Mr. Brown, you know, he's the master.